When Eilat Mazar realized she discovered an ancient structure near Jerusalem, she turned to the Bible to help explain what she found.
And she learned that this new discovery supports the biblical accounts of King David and his son Solomon.
King Solomon's name evokes awe and intrigue. The Bible portrays him as a king of immense wisdom, a ruler who governed an expansive kingdom, and someone who could unravel the naughtiest of human dilemmas with clarity and fairness. His wisdom, wealth, and architectural legacy, especially the first temple in Jerusalem, are legendary. Even today, Solomon remains one of the most talked about and mythologized figures in religious and historical discourse. So, when a group of Israeli archaeologists recently announced the discovery of what they believed to be King Solomon's tomb, the world took notice. The site had eluded discovery for over 3,000 years, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Now, the lid of time finally lifted. Researchers are beginning to uncover not only ancient relics, but also the deeper secrets of one of history's most enigmatic kings. The discovery took place in the city of David, where Dr. Eilat Mazar, a renowned Israeli archaeologist, led an excavation team that stumbled upon what may be the final resting place of Solomon. Her journey toward this revelation didn't begin recently. Back in 1986, Dr. Mazar had uncovered an ancient gatehouse in the same area, but she refrained from making any bold claims at the time. Then in 2009, she returned to the site and began a new round of excavations. And this time she was prepared for the implications. She discovered layer upon layer of artifacts that dated back to the 10th century BCE, exactly the period during which King Solomon is believed to have ruled. The artifacts formed a kind of time capsule from Solomon's era, confirming that the location had not only been inhabited during his reign but likely housed significant structures associated with his rule. Dr. Mazar's findings weren't mere guesses. Her meticulous approach and respect for the evidence earned her admiration across the scholarly world. Her mantra, "We must let the stones speak," underscore her belief that archaeology, when done carefully, could validate historical narratives, including biblical ones. Unlike many of her colleagues who maintained a strict division between science and faith, Mazar welcomed the intersection of both. She wasn't afraid to look at the Bible as a historical source, something many scholars avoided. This openness made her work all the more compelling. American attorney and biblical archaeology enthusiast Herschel Shanks once praised her in the Biblical Archaeology Review, asserting that her professionalism was beyond question. Among the treasures Mazar and her team unearthed were over 30 clay seals known as bulli. The small items were historically used to seal important documents and carried personal or official inscriptions. A particular bulla caught Mazar's attention, revealing clues about the individuals who might have worked in King Solomon's court. These weren't random relics. They were direct links to bureaucratic life during Solomon's reign. The presence of Hebrew inscriptions and references to officials tied everything back to the central power structure of the time. Her excitement was palpable. This wasn't merely academic curiosity, but a heartfelt passion for uncovering lost history. Initially, the excavation was not intended to find Solomon's tomb. The researchers were searching for King David's palace. But while digging through Jerusalem's oldest layers, they found something extraordinary. The massive wall stretching over 2,110 feet, part of what local tradition calls the Cave of the Kings. This wall, which included a gatehouse, a corner tower, and an adjoining royal structure, astounded the archaeological community. Radiocarbon dating placed it squarely in the 10th century BC, which aligned perfectly with Solomon's rule. The size and sophistication of the wall suggested it was no mere city fortification. It was likely part of a larger architectural complex, possibly even the first temple, or a royal palace. Skeptics wondered if, perhaps, another ruler from the 10th century could have built such an edifice. But Mazar explained that there simply weren't many candidates. The only plausible builders given the time frame and the scale of the construction were either King David or his son Solomon. Biblical accounts support this, describing Solomon as the king who constructed the first temple on the Temple Mount. Adding weight to her claim were the surrounding discoveries, giant storage jars bearing inscriptions, suggesting they belonged to government officials, figurines representing fertility symbols common in that era, and jar handles labeled with royal moves. These clues collectively strengthen the case that this site was integrally tied to King Solomon's Jerusalem. For decades, archaeologists have dreamed of finding King Solomon's temple, an ancient structure said to be one of the most magnificent ever built. With the recent discoveries in the city of David, that dream is closer to becoming reality. One significant find was an ancient wall segment in an area of Jerusalem known as Awful Long, believed to be the site of King David's palace. This find fits like a puzzle piece into the broader narrative of ancient Israel's monarchy, making the biblical stories of King Solomon feel more grounded in historical reality. For years, some scholars had dismissed Solomon as a minor tribal chieftain, rather than a powerful monarch. The new archaeological evidence is forcing a re-evaluation. The city of David itself is central to this unfolding story. Located just south of the Temple Mount, it's considered the oldest part of Jerusalem, often referred to as the birthplace of the city. According to the Bible, King David conquered it from the Jebusites and made it his capital. Then, excavations have unearthed ancient walls, water systems, and buildings that date back to the Bronze and Iron Ages. One of the most remarkable features of the site is Hezekiah's Tunnel, also known as the Salium Tunnel, once thought to have been built by King Hezekiah in the 8th century BCE to channel water into the city. Recent studies suggest it might be even older, possibly dating back to Solomon's time. Another nearby feature is the Pool of Salium, a Roman-era structure flanked by stone. So these historical layers form a kind of archaeological playlist where eras overlap and intersect. Today these areas are part of the Jerusalem Walls National Park and are maintained by Israel's Nature and Parks Authority, with day-to-day operations overseen by the Ir. David Foundation. The park sits in the Wadi Hilwa neighborhood of East Jerusalem and remains a focal point of historical and political interest. Beyond Solomon's supposed tomb and temple, archaeologists have also turned their attention to possible royal burial sites in the area. For years, no one could locate the tombs of the ancient kings of Israel, including Solomon. Wars, urban development, and centuries of upheaval may have destroyed or obscured them. Yet the belief persisted that the city of David once housed a royal necropolis. The discovery of massive stone buildings possibly tied to King David suggests that this part of Jerusalem was indeed the administrative and ceremonial heart of the ancient kingdom. Finding actual royal tombs would unlock unparalleled insights into how these kings lived, ruled, and were remembered. Another site loaded with potential is the Temple Mount, traditionally believed to be the location of Solomon's temple. Because of its religious significance in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, it remains one of the most sensitive archaeological areas in the world. Excavations are limited, but every stone there seems to whisper ancient secrets. Closely Associated site is Zedekiah's Cave, enormous limestone quarry under Jerusalem's Old City, known as Solomon's. Of course, legends claim it was used as a secret hideout by King Zedekiah, tried to escape the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in the 6th century BCE. Some tales even say that a divine deer led Babylonian soldiers straight to the cave's exit, leading to the king's capture and blinding. Though largely anecdotal, these stories contribute to the mystique surrounding Jerusalem's subterranean world. Zedekiah's Cave also holds interest for Freemasons who believe it contains ancient symbols and may have hosted secret rituals by the Knights Templar. Though no definitive evidence supports these claims, the lore adds layers of intrigue to the site's legacy. For centuries, Mount Zion was mistakenly believed to be the burial site of King David and his descendants. This error dates back to the Byzantine period when pilgrims misidentified the hills south of the Armenian Quarter as part of ancient Jerusalem. In reality, biblical texts make it clear that David was buried in the city of David in the southeastern part of Jerusalem just below the Temple Mount. According to 1 Kings 2 verse 1, David ruled Israel for 40 years, 7 in Hebron and 33 in Jerusalem before being laid to rest in the city he established as his capital. Later, his son Solomon ascended the throne. The confusion about Mount Zion and the actual burial site stemmed from the gradual westward expansion of the city over time. During the 2nd century, Jerusalem was destroyed, its Jewish residents were exiled, and much of its early history was forgotten. However, biblical accounts preserved some memory of the royal burials, suggesting that several kings from the house of Judah were interred in the city of David. In the early 20th century, a French archaeologist named Raymond Weil began excavating parts of the city of David. He believed he might find the tombs of David and Solomon among other ancient kings. His theories weren't widely accepted, but another archaeologist, Jeff Zorn, has defended his ideas. Believes the real burial sites may lie beneath 2 tunnels within the city, possibly bypassed deliberately during the construction of Hezekiah's tunnel. Supporting this notion is a 19th century observation by French diplomat Charles Clermontot, who suspected that the tunnel's unusual curves were meant to avoid disturbing sacred burial grounds. Weil's excavations funded by Baron Rothschild uncovered ritual pools, water tanks, and ancient walls. Subsequent digs altered the original layout. The findings laid the groundwork for today's research. Each new discovery brings us closer to unraveling the true story of King Solomon, his rule, works, and perhaps even his final resting place. Whether or not we have truly found his tomb, the accumulated evidence is compelling and continues to challenge long-held assumptions about biblical history and ancient Jerusalem. Though the modern world has often dismissed ancient legends as myth or religious metaphor, the recent discoveries in Jerusalem are forcing historians and archaeologists alike to reconsider long-held assumptions. The monumental findings in the city of David have painted a vivid and increasingly undeniable portrait of King Solomon, not as a mythical figure shrouded in fable, but as a real powerful monarch whose reign may have extended far beyond what skeptics once believed. Among the most tantalizing clues is a massive segment of stone wall over 2,000 feet long, complete with a gatehouse, corner, tower, and other royal structures which matches biblical descriptions from